Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tous. So thank you for joining us for this officials update for January 2026. Pour la réunion d'aujourd'hui, je m'exprime en anglais, mais si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas de les poser dans la langue de votre choix par téléphone ou par email et nous vous répondrons rapidement. So if you have any questions on any of the material that's presented during this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact our office. We've got updated contact information available at the end of the presentation. So jumping right into it, just to remind everyone, we have an officials page up on our website that includes the entire pathway of how to become an official, all the necessary documents and forms for both continuing your development as an official and for running events. We do have some information on our National Officials Committee, including the term of reference and their members, and you can also look up some recent meeting minutes. And we've got specific information on ring doctors. One new resource that we are announcing officially this month is our National Officials Plan for 2026. This is modeled after our National Team Plan, which is an outline for athletes around all of the opportunities available for them at a national level in order to be selected for, train for, go to camps for international competition while they'll be representing Canada. And what we've done is we've done basically the same thing for our officials. So once officials are up to level 4, or I should say level 3, and looking to be upgraded to level 4, that's when we suggest that you start looking at this document. And it includes information on those upgrade activities for level 3s looking to become level 4s. We have new officials camps that we're running, which are run in conjunction with our national team camps and are essentially an opportunity for level 4 officials and higher to practice refereeing and judging during our camps during open sparring sessions. And it is a great benefit to have high quality officials there because, of course, it helps our coaches and our athletes learn. But it's also a great opportunity to practice officiating with athletes of the highest level we can find in Canada. So as those opportunities come up, they are documented in the National Officials Plan. Of course, we also have the assignments for our elite national championships and our U17, U19, U23 national championships. Those come up, of course, twice a year, and we are trying for 2026 to lay out assignments that will run right from our first championships, the U17, U19, U23, which will be happening in March in Calgary, and assigning our officials for the elite championships happening in Cape Breton in November. We're hoping to get all those assignments done in the next couple weeks, if not slightly longer than that, so that everyone can start planning out their entire year and take a look at those other opportunities that you might have as officials to work around those national assignments. And then we do also have international open tournament assignments that come up. And at a world boxing level, Boxing Canada doesn't have any control over which officials from Canada are assigned. But for lower level, high quality international tournaments that Canadian athletes are going to as part of the national team, we're often required to bring officials with us. And now that we are well past COVID and we're past an Olympics and we're sort of settled in the new world boxing regime, we've sort of figured out what our schedule is, and we've just done a big update to the national team program. So for athletes, that is identifying which competitions we're going to, and we will now have sort of 3 opportunities where we'll be taking at least one official with us overseas to tournaments. So really looking forward to passing on those opportunities for our level 4 and higher officials to practice their craft. Looking a little bit at who are the officials within Canada right now. So we have sort of just updated our information here and looking by PTSO, so Provincial Territorial Sport Office, um, um, at what levels we have, knowing full well that we don't quite know everyone's level yet. We're getting there, but we're not quite there. And then looking at the distribution of levels based on sort of our new understanding of world boxing levels, because it's now been made official. It was official in December now. The world boxing has an international level, an intercontinental level, and a continental level. We're very lucky to have quite a few Canadian coaches who've met those standards. 11 are currently recognized for world boxing, and we're working on improving on that. And then we've still got a number of officials who are current in the system at the previous international federations, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star levels. And then, of course, we've got our level 4s, level 3s, level 2s, and level 1s. And we are working right now on dropping that number of unknowns. So that 95 unknown officials, we're really working hard at getting those down. And I'm quite hopeful that by the next officials update in April, we'll have that number down to maybe a third of where it's at currently. So looking at the actual development pathway. So this is up on the website, so just so everyone knows, but basically what we're looking at is our main levels. So official level 1, 2, 3, ring supervisor course, our level 4, which is required for our officials who are working at a national championships. Then we've got our World Boxing Continental, Intercontinental, and International levels. And really at levels 1, 2, and 3, officials are dealing with their province. So if you are interested in finding a course to be able to officiate, you need to talk to your provincial head official or your provincial office. They will put together clinics, courses, written tests, evaluations in order to make those happen. Once we get to the ring supervisor level and the level 4, that's something that is programmed each year by our national officials committee. And certainly if we have enough officials in any particular area of the country, we can run one of those as often as we possibly can, assuming we meet our minimum number of officials to actually run the course. But we are going to try to schedule 2, if not 3 per year of each of those to make sure that there are opportunities pre-scheduled for officials to be able to partake in that activity. Once we get up to the international level, things are a little different. At that point, World Boxing identifies officials, and the way to get identified by World Boxing is to have a strong track record of international participation, which means going on some of these international tours with the Canadian national team would be a great way to do it. If you're interested in finding other opportunities than the ones that are just identified in the national officials plan, call up our office, send us an email. And, when we hear about international opportunities come up, we will let you know and pass on contact information for you. We have gone through this exercise of trying to determine what level all of our officials are, and we've been doing a good job filling in the holes where we can, and we will continue doing so. But I want to emphasize, when you as an official, or if you are someone who's running a member registration for your province, at the time of registration, you should have an opportunity to provide your levels to us. So if it's that online through our Tracky system, Tracky is our membership registration platform. And by doing so, that gives us up-to-date information. Now, what we are going to do going forward is we are in the process of taking that information and sort of hard coding it into the National Coach Certification Program online database called The Locker. And if you've done any coaching courses, you'll know that once you do a coaching course, a record of that goes into The Locker, and you can sign up for a free account. It's quite easy. And you can check to see, okay, when did I do my Make Ethical Decisions? When did I do my introduction beginners coaching course? When did I do my education um, on safe sport through the NCCP? It's fantastic. Um, and for any courses related to officiating that happen in the future, what we can do is either the provincial chief official can provide that information to the national office of, hey, I had an update clinic for people for to go from level 2 to level 3, and we had 5 people who were successful. Here are their names. Send that information to us, and we will take care of it. Or the provincial chief official can submit that same information to their province's locker administrator. So each province, in theory, has someone who is trained on entering information into the locker and can do that. And I would suggest that certainly for the larger provinces that this should be a pretty easy process. But if you are unsure, just send the information to the national office and we'll take care of it. At this point, based on December numbers, that was the last time I looked at it, more than 82% of our registered officials already have a locker account. So the number of people who are, in theory, already familiar with the locker is pretty high. And I anticipate that probably by the end of this summer, 2026, we will have every official's information into the locker with their full like uh, did their level 1, did their level 2, did their level 3, did their level 4 officials programming. Speaking of locker stuff, so concussion awareness. We certainly all recognize that our sport um, is at a level of risk when it comes to concussions, and we are all aware about how important it is to check our athletes out, be aware of what they're doing in the ring, and of course, the primary role of the referee is to ensure safety for all of our participants. So, what we have done is gone and said, look, we would really like all of our officials, but certainly mandatory starting at level 2, to go and take this free course. It's offered by the Coaches Association. It's available through the e-learning platform that's attached to the locker. And it's an easy course to take. It's fantastic, available dans les deux langues. And because there is now a record then that you've taken the education, there's no chance of, that going missed, right? So we really encourage everyone to do that. If you haven't taken it already, I encourage you to hit the link and take it. Um, and just a note, we are incorporating that program into all levels now of the coach development pathway. It used to be that it only kicked in at a certain level, but we've now brought that down to our first introductory level of coaching. Okay, and a little bit on our supervisor course. So we continue working on that. We've designed it for level 3 and level 4 officials. Again, trying to run 2 to 3 per year. And the goal of this course is really to improve consistency and uniformity of how we're operating our rings across the country. Um, uh, the intent here, if you are already supervising, rings regularly, and potentially helping out at multi-ring tournaments at your provincials or whatever else, the intention isn't to make everyone go and relearn stuff over again. However, we do encourage everyone to take a look at the program, and once we have been through it a few times over, we're going to make the curriculum sort of more widely available, so that one, people who are interested can learn off of that and then take the course and sort of put into practice what it is that a ring supervisor actually does. But also we want that information to be out in the open, one, because it's not rocket science, right? It's not a big secret, but also anyone who's already been supervising can go in and double check that, hey, this is actually the way I'm doing things, or, oh, I hadn't thought of doing it in this other way. But also if you see that, the suggested sort of minimum standard across the country is, I don't know, whatever level and whatever part of running a tournament, you can say, you know what, I've got a really great idea on how I've been doing this that's been really effective. And you can use that opportunity to go and then share and say, hey, have you ever have to the National Officials Committee, have we ever thought about doing it in this way? Because nothing is so perfect that it can't be improved. And we're always looking for new ideas that can help our sport. So a reminder, if you're going to officiate outside of Canada, because we do know that it happens, especially on trips down to the States, we would really like to see officials showing up on international travel passes. And we know it is happening. We thank all the officials who've been putting their names onto those. Um, and it's the ITP system had been put together when COVID happened, and primarily as a way to have some sort of oversight that people were vaccinated when going down to tournaments or when Americans were coming up to tournaments here. A number of our states are requiring that our boxers and our coaches use the ITP system in order to prove that they are current members of Boxing Canada. And my assumption is that this happens as well for officials, although I'm not hearing about it all that often. But one of the benefits to submitting the ITPs, and the ITP system is free, like it's not a terribly onerous system, I don't feel, um, is that it gives us some statistics, and we're able to take a look at, what is the average age of athletes when they first go down to the States to compete, or when they first go overseas to compete. What is the average level of education in the coaching system for coaches who are going down to the States or overseas? How many Canadians are going and seeking opportunities outside the country for competition? Which part of the country is traveling the most often, right? Like, all this information is very valuable. So we strongly encourage all of our members to be submitting these documents, and we thank everyone who does. Updates on the rule book. We haven't had any updates lately. We're still working on the 2024, late 2024 version of the World Boxing rule book, and then early in 2025, Boxing Canada did an update. There is an editorial, or sorry, I shouldn't say an editorial, a formatting update that will be coming in the next couple of months, just to continue cleaning things up and reducing duplication between the two rule books. We've also got a few other sort of related documents, and one is a fantastic matchmaking cheat sheet that was put together by Boxing Ontario, and we've shared that out on the website for everyone. And just a reminder that all references to IBA and AIBA on provincial websites need to be removed or updated. I will say there are two references right now within the national system I think it's actually, one of them is IBA and one of them is AIBA. One of them is on our on our blue books for our boxers. We bought a lot of blue books, and those all got printed back when we're still under IBA. And then the other one is we have it's credit where it's due, a fantastic resource from AIBA for ringside doctors. And we still got that up on our website because it's a fantastic resource. And if anyone is dealing with a ringside doctor who is or is dealing with a new ringside doctor, especially who is looking for information on, what is it that a ringside doctor does and could see in the ring and how to deal with a number of different scenarios, go to that document on our website. It is truly fantastic on the officials page. Okay, and a quick update on paraboxing. So we continue trying to get paraboxing going. We know that there are members in chairs and members not in chairs who still fit in within paraboxing categorizations who are asking more and more about competition. So we are we're hoping to have done this at our nationals in November. It didn't work out. We've now moved that to the Canada Cup and our U17, U19, U23 nationals in 2026 in Calgary. And I know we've already got people registered, so I'm excited about that. When thinking about paraboxing, we do have a resource that's available. We're testing that resource out in March in Calgary, and then we'll make it publicly available. The key thing here is think novice boxing, right? So in all parasport, the best way to figure out what can work and what won't work is to have officials and coaches and athletes talk to each other. And I've personally enjoyed working with para athletes in a number of different sports, and I found them some of the absolute best people to work with because they're pretty relaxed. They're used to dealing with a lot of adversity, and um, and anytime we can provide them with a positive experience, it is well appreciated by that community and adds to our community. So I would suggest that if you are interested in having para categories at any of your events, whether it's a one-off show, whether it's a training camp, or whether it's an Ontario champion, or I shouldn't say Ontario, a provincial championship, could be in New Brunswick, could be in BC, could be anywhere. Um, my suggestion is go for it and let us know, and we'll parachute in some help in order to make it go as smoothly as possible. But again, think novice, right? So think athletes who are probably don't have a whole lot of experience, athletes who are going to have a lot of questions, and um, and don't be afraid of this idea that these athletes are in some way coming into the ring injured. Don't think about it that way. Think about it as they are participating to the best of their abilities, and through having those discussions with officials and athletes and coaches in advance, we can figure out sort of where the boundaries of acceptable behavior are going to be. The two big questions that I always get around paraboxing are, um, uh, do we need to be worried about them falling out of their chairs? And I say, no. There will be falling probably in the same way that we have able-bodied athletes fall in the ring. And what happens? You get them back up, and in the case of para, either they get back into their chair or their coach comes into the ring and helps them back into their chair. And then you make sure the gloves are clean and you start everyone back up again. Like it's not overly complicated. The second question that I get all the time is, well, how does someone in a wheelchair get into the ring? And the best way to answer that is talk to the people in the wheelchairs about how they would feel most comfortable getting into the ring. There are in the world specially made rings that have rope systems that sort of sort of are taken down very quickly and then put back up so that people can roll right into a ring that's at floor level. But the majority of athletes I've seen getting into the ring are wheeling up next to the actual ring surface. They're sort of butt scooching themselves out of their chair onto the ring. They roll themselves under the ropes. Someone passes their chair up and over the ropes, and then they climb back into their chair, and then they're ready to go. So again, have the conversations, and don't be awkward about having the conversations. Para athletes, like I said, they deal with a lot of adversity, and they're the best judge of what they can and can't do. Okay, say sport for officials. This is one that keeps coming up, whenever I'm out in the world watching boxing competitions, I have seen improvement in the last couple of years, but I don't see enough improvement. And the amount of abuse that our officials are taking is inexcusable. And we have to be tight on making sure that it's not happening. And one of the ways to make sure that we actually understand what is safe sport when it comes to officiating is to be educated. So I suggest that everyone take a look at this NCCP Safe Sport training. It's free. It's available online. It doesn't take very long. But it does a really good job in sort of outlining what the requirements, or sorry, what the parameters are around what constitutes a safe sporting environment and what doesn't. For our level one, two, and three officials, I think this is more than adequate. As soon as you start actively working at a national championships, then there's a higher level of safe sport that we ask everyone to go through, which is run by the Canadian Safe, or what's the name now? Um, Sport Integrity Canada. It used to be the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport. They've just changed their name as of January 1st. So um, Sport Integrity, Canadian Sport Integrity. And they run their own Canadian Safe Sport program, CSSP, and it's available online through an e-learning. But only level four officials who are actively officiating at national championships or above need to be taking that course. And it's basically the same thing for athletes and officials and coaches as well. Um, Okay. And just a reminder, like if you are concerned that about a safe sport situation and you are unsure as to what to do, my suggestion is go to our online resource at boxingcanada.org slash safe sport. And we've got lots of information there. There are weird levels of oversight in safe sport. There's provincial jurisdictions and then there's national jurisdictions. If you are in doubt, contact the NSO through our system, through that online portal. And if it is not a situation that is can be covered by the national system, they will refer you to the appropriate provincial organization in order to continue taking a look at your situation. Okay. Okay, and for more information on officiating, I just remind everyone that the online web portal for officials is available. Also, very exciting for us at Boxing Canada, we now have a phone number again. Interesting side note, we've had to move the national office 3 times in the last 2 years because we moved into the National Training Center at the Olympic Stadium, and then shortly after that, the Olympic Stadium had a fire outside it, not related to any of the sports stuff, that shut down the building for an entire year. So we moved, and then we got back into the Olympic Stadium after the entire stadium had to be like cleaned out and remediated. And within a few months of that, then we got kicked out again because the roof construction was happening at the Olympic Stadium and where the boxing gym and the fencing club and the gymnastics center are at the National Training Center is right underneath where some of the tower cranes were. And they were afraid that if a tower crane failed, that we'd have pieces of roof coming in through the training center. So they moved us out for another 8 months. But we are back in, and now that we're back in, there is a brand new phone system for the entire National Training Center. And we now have our general line, which is extension 208. So if you're interested in calling in, please make use of that. Of course, info at Boxing Canada is always available to take questions. And just a reminder that our next officials programming update will be scheduled for April 9th and 10th. So that's April 9th, that's a Thursday evening, 7 p.m. And April 10th, that'll be at noon. That's all Eastern time. And there'll be emails and web posts about how to log into those meetings once we are closer to the date. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great January.